The Lifestylist, episode 150.
I'm Luke Story, a former celebrity fashion stylist and founder of School of Style. For the past 20 years, I've been relentlessly dedicated to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of health and spirituality. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. I get questions all the time about the best Chinese herbs, which companies make the most potent and pure extracts of them, and what they do for you. So here's a little breakdown, okay? LongevityPower.com is where I get most of my bulk herb extracts. I use these mostly to make elixirs, so I love the He Shou Wu. I'll put that in my morning coffee with some fat. It's really good for strengthening immunity, building sexual vitality. It recharges your adrenals. And more than anything, it really calms down the caffeine effect of coffee. And it just tastes really good. It just blends very well with coffee drinks or even teas. And I also use the Epic Reishi, which is a super potent reishi extract. Don't play around with this stuff. It's really bitter. It's really strong. So you only need a tiny bit. But I'll add some of that to my coffee drinks or my elixirs as well. This also has a very calming effect, and it's super potent for your immune system. And then one of my favorite products in the world, and definitely my favorite maca product, is the dual extract of black maca called Maca Bliss from LongevityPower.com. This stuff is so delicious that I actually can't really keep it in my house because I'll just eat it by the tablespoon, and it's too strong to do that with. You're not really supposed to do that. It's beyond raw maca, gelatinized maca. It's really good for you. It builds your resilience to stress. It's really good for working out. So before I work out, I'll do it. Revs up your libido. And maca is absolutely known to be supportive of your hormones and restoring your adrenals. So this is another one that I'll add to a coffee drink because the coffee can be a little bit harsh on your adrenals, especially if it's not mixed with fats. So I'll put the Maca Bliss in my elixir, especially the ones that have caffeine. Those three in conjunction with coffee or even a hot tea drink or just by themselves with some fats like coconut oil or ghee make a fantastic elixir. You can make things hot or cold. And what I really like about Longevity Power is that they are bulk herbs, so they come in a big jar. So you can kind of mega dose if you want to. And admittedly, I do that sometimes if I didn't get enough sleep or I'm just under stress. I'll use these extracts like in mega doses to really ramp it up. So if you want to check it out, which I highly recommend you do, go over to LongevityPower.com, and I got a little discount for you guys per usual. The discount code is The Lifestylist, and that will save you 5% at LongevityPower.com. The code is, again, The Lifestylist for 5%. LongevityPower.com. Enjoy your herbs. Let's take a moment to give some love to our sponsor today, Athletic Greens, without whom this very episode would have been impossible. Now, Athletic Greens makes a fantastic superfood powder. It's a green powder. It's got over 75 ingredients. So what makes it awesome and different is that it essentially replaces tons of pills and powders and other stuff that you'd have to take. So if you're someone that wants to keep it simple, you want to get that nutrition in on the go, make it quick, make it powerful, Athletic Greens is the answer. It's what I do just about every damn morning. It's got over 25 alkaline, nutrient-dense raw superfoods. It's got natural extracts, herbs, and antioxidants. And what makes it really unique is it has 5 digestive enzymes and a super mushroom complex along with non-dairy probiotics. So that last bit there makes it really easy to assimilate and digest because there's no point in taking nutrition into your body if your body can't use it. And that's one of the most powerful things about Athletic Greens is your ability to actually take advantage of it. So if you want to check it out, go over to athleticgreens.com/Luke and you will receive over $99 worth of free product on your first order. So go to athleticgreens.com/Luke. I don't know who you are, ladies and gentlemen, but I know who I am. I'm Luke Story, bringing you an episode today all about that body you got, healing that body you are sitting in, becoming free of pain. Get that hot thing up and into action, folks. Dr. Luke, a.k.a. Dr. Feelgood, is here with more answers. But no, seriously, today's show features Jeff, Stan, and Debbie from Rapid Release. And this is a cool episode for a number of reasons. One, because it's the first time that I've ever interviewed three people at once, which was almost a complete disaster because I forgot that that was the case. And I showed up with mics for two people at Jeff's house. Luckily, Jeff had a spare mic because he makes music. And so it worked out. But it was really fun sitting down with three people from different walks of life who kind of work within the same organization. And secondly, because this is just one of those really cool things that I discovered, and I feel so grateful to be able to share it with you guys. You know, one of the things that I really enjoy doing in this part of my career, I kind of have a double life. You know, I have this school called School of Style, which has always been my main bread and butter, at least for the past 10 years. And this is a relatively new thing that I'm doing here in health and wellness and spirituality and all of that. But for 20 plus, God, almost going on 22 years now, I've been researching all types of body work and healing devices and just any kind of tech that I can find, whether it be physical or metaphysical. I mean, Reiki, even with no devices, just intention, whatever, anything I can find to get myself out of pain and help other people to get out of pain. And somewhere in the journey, I forget exactly when it was. It might have been at the Bulletproof Conference, Longevity Now Conference. One of those conferences, I stumbled across a massage table with a strange device in someone's hand. That someone was one of our guests, Debbie, doing body work on people. And I thought, whoa, that looks and sounds really cool. And when I heard the groans of joy coming out of her, patients kind of, on the massage table, I'm like, I'm next, of course, and dove in. And on a number of occasions, I was treated by her at events and then eventually went to her privately and was treated by her. And I just fell in love with this damn device. I ended up getting one. And I thought, you know what, I want to tell people about this because it's helping me so much. And I'm someone that's got a body that just hurts a lot for whatever reason. Well, I know the reason. I abused my body a lot when I was young and stupid, and didn't know that you had to have this thing when you were 48 also. But anyway, here I am. I'm getting better and better, less pain all the time through all of the biohacking I'm doing. And this device, the Rapid Release, has been something that's really helped me. So it was cool to sit down and kind of learn about that and share it with you. But before we jump into this informative and really fun interview with our three guests, I want to tell you that I was about to say, I want to warn you. I guess I could warn you. I have 3 events coming up at which you can come meet me in person and come hang out and hear my spiel on whatever it happens to be that night, whether it be spirituality, meditation, finding your passion in business, or all things physical health and biohacking. So the first one is July 26th at One Taste in Venice, California. Next one is at Next Health, August 22nd in Century City, and then one gig at OsteoStrong the following night, August 23rd. You can find all of my events and how to get tickets if tickets are required. In many cases, you just have to RSVP with the quickness. Don't sleep on this. These tend to sell out or fill up quickly. Go to this site URL on the intraweb, lukestory.com/events. That's lukestory.com/events. And before I jump into this, I also want to let you know I have a really cool bonus here from the people at Rapid Release. If you want to check out this device yourself, they've offered a discount to the listeners, which I thought was really sweet. You can go to rapidrelease.com. And if you use the code Luke100, you save $100. I mean, these things are not cheap. I'm going to warn you, but $100 is a meaningful discount. So go to rapidrelease.com and see about getting one of these yourself. If you're someone that does body work professionally, like this to me is a non-negotiable absolute requirement in your toolkit. Lastly, I want you guys to do this. Here's what I want you to do. Go to lukestory.com/newsletter, put in your name and email, and sign up for my totally awesome, non-annoying, non-pestering, completely respectful email list. I'm not going to send you any weird crap. What I'm going to send you is releases of podcasts with all of the show notes and links, because I'm sure as you listen to these shows, you're probably like, wait, what did they say? How can I remember that? And you're trying to take notes or do screen grabs or whatever, you don't need to do that, boo. Just go to lukestory.com/newsletter, sign up, and I'll send you the show notes, exclusive videos, discounts on really cool products I discover, and of course, announcements when I do speaking events and special Facebook Lives and all that kind of stuff. It's a good way to stay in touch with me. And as I said, I really do my best to only send you emails when it's absolutely necessary. There'll definitely be one a week that tells you what the podcast release is. So the guest today, let's talk about what we're going to get into, and then we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Dr. Stanley Stanbridge is a former chiropractor, the president and inventor of this rad thing called the rapid release technology. And Jeff Mayer's the co-founder and VIP of sales and marketing. And then Debbie Record Gomez is a practitioner who can perform miracles in minutes with this thing. And I know firsthand that that is in fact the case. So let's do a brief outline of what we covered before we jump right into the fire. How Dr. Stan developed the original light stim device for pain almost 2 decades ago. He's an OG biohacker, guys. What vibration therapy is and how it can help relieve pain. Creating the first generation of rapid release technology in a garage. That's right. This thing started out very primitively, but it has since evolved in a big way. What actually causes you to feel aches and pains in your body. Very interesting information there. How we store emotional, mental, and even spiritual trauma in our tissues. The insane number of people who have some kind of muscular or skeletal pain, yours truly being one of them. How Stan originally discovered the harmonious healing frequency of the rapid release. How anyone can figure out how to use these magic wands even without extensive training. I mean, I've been figuring out on my own in my living room every day, and I'm doing pretty well with it. It's funny though, total digression here, but my friends all of a sudden are like coming over a lot more, especially if they have a sore neck or something. It's so funny. I mean, I love it. It's great. I coerce all of my homies to come over and get work done. Okay, back to the bullet points. Let's keep it serious, Luke. How some deep tissue work actually causes injury and hurts the body in the long term. Yeah, bummer. How you can find a practitioner that uses rapid release near you. And that's great if you're not someone that likes to buy these things and spend a bunch of money, or you just don't have the money to buy a device. There are people that can treat you right here in Hollywood. I think I Googled it the other day, and there were people around here doing it. So you can go get worked on by someone like Debbie. Why Debbie uses the rapid release for her own self-care and how you can too, which is what I elected to do because I just don't want to drive all around town and get someone to do it for me. Then the mind-blowing relationship between music, voice, and vibrational healing. So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this special report. And now, without further delay, let's jump into this conversation with the folks behind Rapid Release. Welcome to the Lifestylist Podcast, my 3 guests from Rapid Release. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right, so you guys, this is my first episode with 3 guests. So I've got Stan, Jeff, and Debbie here. And the reason I'm interviewing them is I discovered this device called a rapid release a few years ago, maybe probably like 3 or 4 years ago at various conferences, Bulletproof Conference, Longevity Now Conference, etc. And I'd walk by and there'd be a massage table and Debbie'd be there working on people. And I'm always down for some kind of body work. And I got on the table. She starts doing this vibrating crazy thing on my body. And my body's going, yes, this is amazing. This feels really good. Got her number, went down to Laguna Beach and have been treated by her a couple of times. And so, as you guys know, as you listen to the show, when I find something really cool that I want to share with the world, I've just like obsessively have to find the people behind it and share it with the world. So here we are. So I'm going to start out with a little introduction of you, Stan. So you've been a chiropractor since 1978 when I was 8 years old. Are you still practicing now?
No, I'm no longer.
Okay, now you own a company and you're doing that. Mm-hmm. So how did you first get into natural healing and the stuff like chiropractic versus traditional allopathic medicine? What was your first interest there?
First interest was my mother came home from work one day telling me that one of her coworkers' brother just graduated from chiropractic college. Family, we were familiar with chiropractors. I had a great uncle and a great aunt who were chiropractors. People in our family had been to chiropractors, and my mom was kind of opening things up for me, just kind of gently suggesting things. She said, he's coming back from Los Angeles. I grew up in Vancouver, Canada. Why don't you go talk to him? And it was that simple suggestion that, it wasn't pushy. It was just like, why don't you do this? So I did. And after I spent maybe a couple hours with him, for some reason, it just immediately was something I wanted to do. It was the strangest thing. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I have the idea then even that the body just needs a little help to heal itself. As a family, we weren't rushed off to the doctor to get drugs or, get on antibiotics or, it's like just let the body take care of itself, kind of wait and see sort of attitude. And if intervention's needed, then we'll do that. But that was the idea. It resonated with me. The profession of chiropractic resonated with my kind of upbringing, let's say. So I made that decision.
Yeah, you've just described, I think, a lot of our listeners' approach to health and longevity and things like that. And that's something I discovered years ago, too, is that it's not that your body needs outside healing from something else. You need to stop doing whatever it is that's hurting you and implement some things that, allow the body the opportunity to heal itself. So I like that point of view a lot. And what led you into your first product, doing some research on you? You first came out with something called the Light Stim, using some light therapies and things like that, which I'm really into now, the infrared light and red light therapy and all this stuff. But it seems like you were kind of an early adopter. How'd you first discover that?
That was something that came to my attention when I started, again, now I think about it, it was my mother. My mom and dad were vacationing in Mexico. She sent me an email over the winter, said, we watched this thing about cold laser for carpal tunnel syndrome. Can you look into it? And I had kind of looked into cold laser or light therapy sometime previous to that, but what do you do when your mother asks you to do something?
Well, if your mom tells you to do it, you don't do it. If you're a good rebellious man or boy, yeah.
Well, in my case, I couldn't look my mom in the eyes the next time I saw her and tell her that, yeah, I really looked into that and there's nothing to it. No, I looked into it and frankly, I was amazed at what was going on and in light therapy and that I didn't know more about it, because at that time there was, a lot of data that was being published. So in any event, that was the late 90s. I had a patient who came in who was talking to me about LEDs as the light source versus a laser as the light source. And so I started experimenting with arrays of red and infrared in my practice and was seeing some really good results with that and got to the point where I was having these devices in the practice and made them available for patients to take home. And there was a ready market for that. When they saw the benefits in my office, they were happy to take one home and continue the use of it at home. One thing led to another. I teamed up with a gentleman who had a lot of energy, and he and I worked together to work out the best combination of frequencies to use in a product. That is the light stim that you can get today. The original light stim for pain is the same array and multiple frequencies that we developed in around year 2000, and it's still there.
That's crazy. So you were an early adopter, because I started getting into all this natural health stuff maybe mid 90s or so, and I never heard of the light therapy until a couple of years ago. And I'm a huge fan of it. I have a device called a Juve, which is this big red light panel. It's a really powerful LED panel.
Right.
You stand in front of that a couple times a day naked, and hope that your neighbors don't see you in there. It looks like a brothel in my office, basically a very strong red light. And then I also, I have my new dog here, Zoe, and the day I picked her up, she had been spayed that day. And so I adopted her from, the spayed clinic or whatever. And I thought, what can I do to speed up her healing that won't actually hurt her? So I did a little research, and I have this other device made by PowerMedic Lasers, and it's a cold laser. And they're these little wands, pretty powerful. I think it's 500 watts, this particular one. So I emailed them like, can I use this on my dog? Will it hurt her? And they gave me a specific protocol, and I healed that little incision in a matter of like 4 days. That would have taken probably 10 days. Yeah. It's crazy. So I'm a big believer in the light too.
Good.
All right. So at what point did you get into the vibration therapy?
Vibration therapy had some exposure with other devices. I had a whole body vibration platform in my office that I was using, seeing benefits to vibration there. I had somebody come by my office one day who was working for a physical therapy center in Anaheim and was telling me about shockwave therapy. And so I referred one of my patients over to that facility. I went with my patient to see what this was about. And it's really intense, low frequency, but very intense energy entering the body from different points. It's basically a repurposed kidney lithotripsy. When they blast kidney stones, they use these kinds of devices. So someone had the idea of applying it to other body parts to see if it would help. And it does help, but it was very costly. I had this idea that maybe there's something that can be done with vibration, increasing the frequency. I just didn't know how to what kind of platform to use. So I was inspired 3:30 in the morning when I was watching an infomercial, like maybe I could use that as a platform and see if that would work. And the next day in my office, I'm talking to a patient and he suggested where I could get something like that. I have a good friend who's a metal fabricator. I went to his shop and we started making attachments for this machine. Broke a lot of parts and things didn't work and it didn't feel that great when I was first making them, but finally developed something that was strong. It stayed together and I could use it. And the next day I'm in my office. Hey, I made this yesterday. Can I use it on you? And the rest is history. I started seeing immediate results with some pretty amazing cases.
Did you have any patients that were like, what? You looks like you made that thing in your garage. Don't put that on me.
Yes, they did.
Were the first iterations of this particular unit like crude looking and
Very
kind of
crude.
homemade?
Yeah.
Very crude.
But when you get results...
Even more crude than what Debbie remembers.
Yeah.
The original treatment surface was, I went to a hardware store that sells, anyway, it's a very full service hardware. They had a drawer where they had all these appliance legs that you put that are on your stove or your refrigerator.
Right, right. Yeah.
Dennis.
I have a vibration plate in my garage and I have it on those little feet.
You can slide the appliance to clean it and put it back. That's what I used because it was kind of slick and slippery and it would glide over skin and clothing. So that's what that was welded onto an arm that was fastened to this machine. And
so now that you guys have settled on 2 devices, one professional model and then kind of one more user home use one, how many different iterations have there been up until this point?
Wow.
I love inventions and like people that come up with stuff. I'm always curious about like how many bad light bulbs, in other words, did Edison come up with before like ding, the one, right?
I read those books about Edison and his persistence, and I felt like, now that you mention it, it was a lot like that. When we went from our first prototype type device to what we have now, there was a lot of failure, as Jeff can attest. So we went and contracted with a variety of engineers, spent a lot of time, a lot of our money trying to develop our own platform, our own device, and a lot of dead ends, a lot of
heat and noise.
Like we really felt like we were doing great if I could get a machine to run for an hour without basically melting. That's the kind of challenge we were faced because the speed of our device, it is very challenging to engineer something that works as well as it works, stays together, and lasts a long time under professional use. That was huge. That's a big deal.
I can tell because the device in question, and those of you listening to the podcast, I know sometimes it's difficult because you can't see what we're talking about, but it's essentially a handheld device that plugs in, kind of like a big wand in a sense. And when that thing's on, I don't want to turn one on now because it's loud as hell on a microphone on a podcast, but it's a really powerful device. And when it's on your body, I mean, it's not a passive kind of thing. It's definitely moving. So I can see that might have been difficult. All right. So before we get into more of that, I want to introduce our other 2 guests here as to make sure that you guys are included and the audience can understand who you are. So Jeff, you started out as a software engineer and an inventor and kind of doing stuff in that world. How did you get involved with rapid release and, all things natural healing and devices and all this kind of stuff?
Being in the right place at the right time.
But actually, I was friends with the founder of LightStim, the co-founder of LightStim with Stan. I had an LED invention that I wanted to run by him because he was in the LED space, and he introduced me to Stan, said Stan was the LED expert. And I showed Stan my invention, and then he showed me his invention, and his invention kicked ass all over mine. So
That's funny.
But another thing that was very interesting is I've got a life coach. I worked out in a landmark of who I was to the world in the advanced course, and that was to inspire peace, love, and joy to the planet. And that was working out great. I was writing books and music and all this stuff. And my life coach said, you got to step up. You got to do a lot better than that. You got to do something that's beyond this lifetime, something that, like I have a dream type of magnitude. And so I thought about it, and I said that I wanted to end suffering on the planet with no idea how I was going to do it, or, obviously can't do that completely in this lifetime. But it was 2 weeks later that I met Dr. Stanbridge, and all the synchronicities started flowing, and we got to work really quickly after that. So,
how long have you guys been working together?
I joined the company in 2010, and we were talking in summer of 2010. We filed our patents in December of 2010.
Cool. Yeah, you guys, and I can tell just from the hour or so I've been here and we've been kind of prepping and getting ready, you two seem to have kind of a different personality. There's a yin and yang, you know what I'm saying? Like I see who's the predominant right brain and left brain, and I think in partnerships, in order for it to be successful, you do have to kind of bring a different mindset and skill set. I have a business partner as well, and we're so different, and we both think about things in a completely different way, but we fill in the gaps, so it seems like you guys have been able to do that.
I agree.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Jeff, like we're into Kundalini yoga, before you guys came, we were listening to music, vibing out, so he's kind of holding down, the more esoteric spiritual energy here, I think. All right. And then Debbie. So Debbie, I know, better than you two. I just met Stan. I met Jeff briefly once before, I believe. But Debbie's, like I said, worked on me a couple of times. So she knows not only me, but my body. And I want people to get to know you, Debbie. So how did you first get involved in body work and helping people to feel and get better?
It's just something ever since I've been a kid, I just would put my hands on people's shoulders or want to, my mom worked 3 jobs and she had 3 kids. She wasn't a citizen and she was tired and she was hurting. And that's something I just gravitated to. And so that's, something I've wanted to do. I'm a speech and language therapist, and I taught special education for a long time, and a lot of ADD kids and kids that had a lot of challenges. And I started studying to do body work when I worked with abused children who had a lot of trauma to their bodies and to their brains. And my job was to help them learn. And so I thought, how am I going to help them learn if I don't help them with their trauma? And that's how I got into body work originally.
So you were just kind of created as a healer type person then? You just like helping people?
Yeah, I do.
That's cool. I got that from you. I noticed there was something that struck me, I think the first time that you worked on me using the rapid release device, and you were talking about how in your past you've worked on people and intuited or gotten some sense that a lot of the stuff that people kind of hold in their body is in fact manifestations of past emotional or even kind of mental and spiritual trauma. Do you think that that's the case? Would you say that some of the things that we tend to take on as like a body pain or discomfort could be rooted in something deeper?
Absolutely. Muscle memory is where we store all of the events, the loss, the grievances, the relationships, all of those kinds of things are definitely a part of what we store in our bodies. And our control center of our body is our hips. And we tend to have problems with our backs and our hips when we have emotional and traumatic events. Yeah, it absolutely is tied. 95% of a lot of what we deal with has to do with that onset of emotion.
In general, working with people throughout your career doing body work and stuff like that, have you had people have, sort of spiritual or emotional experiences or releases and things like that where you're kind of observing some sort of exorcism? I ask because I've had a couple of those myself as the recipient,
Always, all the time. I mean, I've had, hands on someone's head before, and it was almost like a electricity. And it was a renewal of this person's brain and mind, and they were really struggling mentally. And so, yeah, you feel the transference of that energy, the positive and negative ions in trauma and in events that it transfers. So yes, you absolutely do feel that.
That's cool. I think it's important for people to know that, because oftentimes people think, oh, I just have a bum knee, or for me, I have, issues with my right hip for a long time. And I've traced it back, like you said, a lot of the trauma will tend to live in the hips and kind of in that midsection of the body. And I've traced it back, and I can see correlations between different events in my life and different points of trauma that were not physical as sort of manifesting there. And I've had a lot of situations in which I've been worked on and had realizations while I'm there on said table going like, oh man, I see where this came from. It's really interesting. So I know you and I have kind of talked about some of that stuff. So it's interesting. And I just want to encourage people listening to kind of explore that side of it too, because I think that there's a lot of help that our bodies could get from addressing some of the underlying emotional issues and stuff.
One other thing I wanted to mention is a lot of people go to therapy to help them, and they forget the body part. And that is the complete healing. You can't just go to therapy and think that you're going to get through your traumas by just going to a therapy session. People forget about the body, and that's where it's all held, and that's where it's all stored. And it doesn't forget ever. So that's a real important aspect.
That's a cool distinction, and it kind of goes both ways. I think a lot of people will get really into the physical fitness part and the health food and the biohacking and all of this, and never go to therapy and never do any of the deep personal work, right?
Yes,
so it kind of goes both ways. And I agree, you have to really approach this thing from all sides, which is one of the reasons my show is called The Lifestylist, because it's about, the esoteric and the spiritual, but also taking care of the vehicle too, and healing from, physical issues as well as emotional. So I appreciate that input. So in general, to any one of you three, what do you think is, the cause of pain? People have these aches and pains in different parts of their body. What are some of the things that actually cause us to feel pain? Are they injuries? Are they things that we were once injured and it never got properly healed? Or what might any of you have to say about that?
I'd agree with that. Improperly healed, perhaps. There's the idea if you don't use it, you lose it. If you're in a repetitive stress situation, if you're constantly going beyond what is a kind of a comfortable range of motion for you, if you've had an old injury, it tends to be easy to re-injure that area. If there's areas where there isn't an acceptable amount of movement, let's say, between structures in the body, then they can kind of get locked up, and you can pull against those locked up areas of the body, and that can become very painful. It's easy to re-injure those old spots.
And about 85% of the people will have some kind of musculoskeletal pain in their life. And just under half have some musculoskeletal pain currently.
Wow. So I'm normal then.
Yes, you are. You're very normal.
I that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you guys, because when I find something that helps alleviate my physical pain, I'm like you, Jeff. I want to actually alleviate suffering in the world. That's my main mission, is kind of an overall theme. That's because I've suffered or continue to suffer from physical aches and pains and things like that. And so, when I find something that works for that, I want to share it. But I often feel like, oh God, everyone else is walking around feeling fine. They're all up and about, and my back hurts and my hip hurts and my elbow and whatever, So that's good to know that it's a common human theme. I've heard this term, fibrous adhesions, or situations in which, someone gets a tear or an injury in a muscle or ligament or tendon or whatever, and then it kind of heals in a way that's sloppy. How would you explain some of those things that tend to happen to people?
Well, like we were saying earlier, those areas tend to want to stick together. And if there's anything you can do to improve movement locally into that area, tissues can tend to start to want to move a little better in relation to each other and alleviate a lot of that. And, vibration can help with that.
So it's sort of like the way I look at it, say I have, my bicep muscle, and I strain that, and I have a small tear in it or something like that. Then the body goes, okay, so there's an injury there. Hello. And it starts sending in super healing powers and then starts building tissue on top of the tissues that's there, but doesn't necessarily do it in harmony with what would have originally been there. So now
in an organized way.
In an organized way. That's the word I'm looking for. So the body kind of puts its own internal Band-Aid on it. And then later on, that can restrict movement and start to cause irritation and things like that.
Especially in older people. I think younger people, it's temporary patching mechanism that tends to go away.
More elastic.
In a healthy body. Yeah. And I've heard some theories about not having enough electrons in our healthy cells, like our battery's not charged enough. And then those the scar tissue can actually grow on people, like it did on my dad. And he broke his foot in half on a motorcycle, and every year it got another layer of fibrous tissue built on top of it.
Right. More layers of the body kind of making new meat to cover up the broken meat, basically, right?
Trying to protect itself.
Yeah.
And the theory that I heard at the longevity conference is that if we're grounded and we have electrons, a healthy charge of electrons in our cells, when the white corpuscles come by to try and break up that fibrous tissue, if they miss and it hits the healthy tissue, that the grounding will neutralize that free radical. But if they don't have that grounding, it'll create more of that tissue. And that's why it builds up in older people especially.
Oh, that's interesting. So you combine our common sedentary lifestyle where we're sitting in cars, we're sitting in computers, we're laying in bed. Like we don't typically as a culture move so much. Combine that with the disconnection from nature and grounding and good diet, water, lifestyle, and all that. And you end up with a body that ends up in a lot of pain. Right? Or at least however many ways.
It's a spiral.
Good analogy. Yeah.
Right.
And you're either spiraling up or you're spiraling down. And when you start hurting and you're not moving, then you're making it even worse.
Right.
Well, and two, when your muscles are basically 3/4 made of water and the muscle tightens up and the water can't and doesn't absorb, it's not a consumption issue. People get that mixed up. They'll drink a lot of water, but they'll go to the bathroom a lot too. And that's because the water's not absorbing into those tight, injured muscles. And that's what will make the muscles tighten up is if they don't have enough water, if you don't stretch and hold it long enough, or your deep breathing. They need those three things to function. And that gets affected when we have injuries.
Another thing that muscles need to relax is oxygen, because it takes ATP to contract the muscle, but it takes oxygen to release them. And if they're not getting enough oxygen, they get tight. When they get tight, they start constricting the capillaries, which reduces the oxygen. It goes in that downward spiral.
Oh, that's interesting. So this is from my point of view, and maybe you share this, Jeff, in the yogic traditions, it's all about moving energy, and sometimes energy is in the form of fluid, like getting water and different fluids that remove metabolic waste or bring oxygen and nutrients into different parts of the body. So
and that's
a lot of this is like stagnation in general, right?
Exactly what you just mentioned is what the acupuncturists call it. And they claim that this helps remove blockages, which I don't really understand it that much, but that's their terminology.
Yeah, well, acupuncture is something I really love. And it's funny because I forgot about that. And that was one of the first things I got into that was outside of our normal paradigm of Western medicine. And the minute I get those needles in me, I just pass out. And I feel so good. They're like, hey, wake up, come back. And they start taking the needles out. So whatever it's doing, I like. We'll be right back at you after this brief but important announcement. Dudes, dudettes, I am really excited to tell you about Altair Pure. These guys make the most insane, organic, really high quality bedding. And this is what I'm using on my own bed now. So your sleep sanctuary is really important. And it really affects not only your health, but your quality of sleep. So these guys are going above and beyond the call of duty. And I'm just really stoked to have found someone that's not only organic, but certified pesticide-free and non-GMO. Did you know that you might be sleeping on GMO cotton? A lot of shady stuff going on in the labeling of cotton in the industry that's used for bedding. So these sheets are super high quality, very well made. But not only that, it's just a great company because they're down with fair trade, social equity. They take care of the environment. Everything they do is done with complete transparency, and they value sustainability above all else. Not only your health, but the environment and all that as well. So they're certified, tested, verified, 100%, super legit and badass. And they're also just great looking and very comfortable. So I'd love for you to go check them out. Their website is altairapure.com. That's ALTERRAPURE, altairapure.com. And it's just really exciting news to share with you because I've been looking for something like this for a long time. But what's even more exciting is that if you go to altairapure.com and enter the code LifeStylist at checkout, you're going to save 15%. And their stuff is really affordable already. So go to altairapure.com, enter the code LifeStylist, and save 15%. And now, back to the interview. Let's get into a couple more questions that I have about this crazy device that you guys have come up with. Because, like I said, when something has a really positive effect on me, it just sticks in my mind, and then I have to learn kind of more about it and what it does and how it does it. So I think the first thing that's curious to me, which might be for you, Stan, is what's up with the specific frequency of vibration? You know, because I've seen a lot of different devices that are more percussive. You know, some of them are almost like a jigsaw with a rubber mallet on the end and bop, 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 you know, kind of hammer you. And they kind of feel good. I don't know what they do in terms of long-term effects, but if I'm sore, that works. But your vibration seems to be very specific and very fast. You know, it's like a buzzing kind of vibrate rather than a hammering on you, if that makes sense.
Right.
Did you have different frequencies that you attempted to use, and how did you settle on the one that you did?
It was trial and error, to be honest. Coming up with the device, using it in the practice, and seeing the results that I was seeing. Then, of course, I want to know a little bit more. Okay, if I slow it down, if I speed it up, what's going to be the effect? What I found over time and over with the use of the device on many, many patients is settling in on the frequency that we're now using. So I found that if it was slower, I wasn't seeing the dramatic change, the good results that I was seeing if it was running a little faster. When I would apply it at a higher speed to patients and even to myself, I found it was at the frequency that we're using now. It's kind of harmonious. It feels like it's the right speed. When I went higher, it lost that harmony with me, with my patients. It didn't feel right. And also it wasn't particularly comfortable. So I'd slow it down again. This is comfortable. It feels right. I remember it was months using this device on patients, making several homemade devices for colleagues, for people in my family who I wanted them to have this. It was months before I actually had a treatment myself. So a colleague of mine comes over. I said, I want to feel what everybody's telling me about. So I laid down on the table and I realized after several minutes that I didn't hear the device anymore.
Yeah. It's like white noise.
It was there, but I didn't hear it. So it was a combination of the sound that was kind of in me. It was the feeling of it, the sensation of it. And I got off the table after, say, 3 or 4 minutes, and I honestly felt like I'd been meditating because my mind was completely blank. I realized that after I got off the table. That was my own personal first experience. After using it for months on others, that's what I felt.
That's funny because I actually experienced the same thing when I've been worked on a number of times with Debbie, especially like when you get around the head, like right, like on the back of your head and where your neck muscles kind of connect to the skull right in there. Mm-hmm. That vibration it feels so good. Yeah. It's not at all, actually not on any point of the body is it jarring and like, oh, like you have to suffer through it. It is very, like you said, I like the word harmonious. There is something with that frequency that seems to really resonate.
And then what you were saying about the other slower devices, like the jigsaw type devices, they're kind of a pounding, percussive with a very long stroke. And anytime I've had something like that rendered to me, I don't find it relaxing at all. I find that my body is actually tensing up against it in a protective stance because it is jarring. Our device, high speed, very small amount of movement. It's only moving 1.7 millimeters. So it's that very high speed with a very subtle movement. You can use it anywhere on the body and impart tremendous energy, and it's comfortable.
And to that effect, you can target small parts of your body, like trying to put a jigsaw in your hand. It's just going to push your hand away. With rapid release, you can target, a thumb or a particular muscle of the thumb, the wrist. Cool thing about the frequency is it's right at the intersection of the male and female voice. And if you look at the frequency spectrum, all the old school devices all vibrate under 60 hertz. Most of them are like 30 or 40 hertz. And if you go from 60 hertz up, the next vibration device is ultrasound, which typically runs in the megahertz. So we're the first device to break that 60 hertz barrier. And we're running at around 155 hertz.
Oh, I was going to ask what the frequency was. I didn't know if it's proprietary. Like it's our secret frequency. Oh, that's interesting.
But there is a lot of literature that suggests that there's very beneficial effects neurologically and with the muscles at that frequency range that we run at.
Well, I'm fascinated by vibration and sound, and I brought my amp coil with me to show you, Jeff, as I told you earlier. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a former musician, but I get that there's really something to frequency, universally speaking. And on the whole body vibrations that Stan was talking about, there used to be one called the Turbosonic. I don't know is that the one you had?
Yes, that's the one I had.
Yeah, so the Turbosonic was very expensive. They used to be like 12 grand. I don't know what they are now. So I never got one, but I'd go to chiropractors and practitioners that had them. And you definitely get a different feeling based on how slow or fast it is. You speed it up to that wee, like really high, and it feels different, like not just physically different, but it has a different effect on you kind of energetically than the slower wump, up, 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 up,
Did you find that you could feel it in different parts of your body at different frequencies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really weird. When I'd be on the Turbosonic, there was one, I forget what it was, but there was one kind of around the middle and it would make me have to pee. It was like, that was the one that vibrated my bladder. And I started to learn all right, make sure you go to the bathroom, Luke, before you walk in here.
Right.
And I swear to God, I would go to the bathroom and then and get right on it. And I don't care if I went 2 minutes before, if I got that one vibration, it was like, that was the bladder frequency.
That's resonant frequencies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So I'm fascinated by that. And I guess that answers my next question, which is why you didn't decide to make a device that has, a bunch of different settings. You found that sweet spot that you felt worked, and just why fix it if it ain't broke?
Right. And there's no need. Like you said, we found it, tried slower, tried faster, didn't see any benefit. It's kind of like a bell and whistle sort of thing. Some people ask us about that, but honestly, it's just not required.
One of the things that Debbie can attest to is how easy this thing is to use. It's really intuitive. You just put it any place you'd put your hand when you're doing a massage. It's something that no matter what skill set the practitioner has, whether they're an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, or an athletic trainer, they know how to use it. There's no extensive training. We do have training videos on our website, but it's not something that that anybody can't combine with other knowledge they have. We have people that are really good at ART, active release therapy, people that are really good on other types of therapy, and they can combine it with what they know and really multiply their effects.
I was going to ask you about that because I've done ART where you sort of hold a certain position with your body, right? And then you get it worked on while you're in that position. So you could do that with the rapid release then, like...
What rapid release does is you're not fighting muscle. People have muscle tension is really, really difficult because when you apply pressure to muscle tension, people tense up and they tend to get sore. And what this does is it's a preparation for all of the bodywork related things that you do. And it even facilitates doing that with vibration rather than with pressure. So, clients for me have included small children to 102-year-olds. Because you can use that vibration because it isn't pressure on the muscle and you don't tighten up and you're not sore. And the results are immediate. Immediate. It's some things you say with therapy, I can go 10 weeks and it'll help with this condition. It's immediate. People will find immediately they're better.
A good case in point is I've always had tight psoas muscles. And those are the ones that, Debbie could put her finger there and like my thing would react and say, no, don't do that. But with rapid release, I maybe react for about 2 or 3 seconds. And then after that, it just relaxes and she can go as deep as she wants.
Yeah, I've sensed that too. So what are some of the things, Debbie, because you seem to have a real intuitive sense of touch and communication with the body, as you indicated. What are some of the experiences you've had with people working on them using this device? Because I have my experience with you, but you were talking about before working with veterans and all sorts of different things, the different aged people and all that.
I recently, I'm in a boot camp class, and I had one of the Marines is in the class with me, and he had been in physical therapy for a long time and was modifying his movements. And I asked him what was going on. Well, he was doing 22-mile hikes to bring awareness to suicide because there were 22 vets a day, and he couldn't do them because of the discomfort in his feet. And I said, well, why don't I just bring this into class? And I brought it in before class at 5 a.m, used it on his feet, and he was back doing those hikes that he had been out of for months. I can't tell you that I use it about 35 to 40 hours a week. And I use 2 of them as well at times.
I know.
That's been, because pain refers side to side and top to bottom. So I realized that it's even
I was impressed
more.
with your ability to use 2. It's sort of like I picture you like in a Western movie, like pulling out both your guns.
I have holsters.
Yeah, totally. I was like, oh man, what's about to happen here? Yeah, but that's, I think, for me, it's that the experience I've had with you, and you're the only person that I've ever had work on me with these actually, is that the body doesn't fight it. I think that's the cool thing. And Stan was kind of alluding to that.
You're not fighting the muscle.
Yeah. Because
right,
even sometimes when I'll get a Thai massage or something like that, and I like really deep work, but then the hand doesn't really know like what the threshold is. They just kind of look at you and see if you're wincing a lot, and then they ease up. So you have to, there's a lot of kind of, verbal communication needed, because there isn't like a set frequency that the body's like comfortable with. You have to sort of learn to trust that. So
it's like a body hum. That's what Stan was talking about. It resonates. Even people that are, they'll hear the noise at first and they'll anticipate what that feeling is going to be. It's absolutely nothing whatsoever that you would think. But I think that frequency is just phenomenal.
One other thing I was thinking about as we're talking about therapies and the sometimes traumatic nature of therapy, whether it's Graston, where they get in and strip layers of tissue apart from each other with tools, steel tools, or whether it's doing that with their thumbs, deep tissue massages. Out of curiosity, one day I decided to Google injury from deep tissue. And I clicked on images, and there's millions of images of people who have been injured from this deep tissue work under the guise of therapy. So when you think about what we were talking about earlier about injury leading to pain, well, they're getting injured on the table, and the therapist thinks they're digging in and getting all those knots worked out and doing all this wonderful work where they're actually rupturing blood vessels, they're damaging tissue, which leads to more problems later on. So they feel good for an hour or so. But like Debbie said, the immediate effect of rapid release is often pretty lasting.
Oh, so maybe sometimes I'm thinking of Bodywork. Maybe sometimes you get kind of an endorphin rush from it.
The serotonin and dopamine levels.
Right. So you're not you're kind of numbing yourself to the pain, but
this euphoria.
So it feels good. End quotes. But maybe the body's going like, "Whoa, we're actually under attack," rather than being in harmony. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool. And then I've not really worked with some of the other the heads and settings on it. I think, Debbie, you've just used kind of the one broad one, but what body parts can you work on using those little knobs and stuff on the side? I'm curious about that.
All of them.
Like what do you like? What kind of body parts do you work on, and which settings and stuff? The
points of the knots that people talk about with a lot of use of technology, use of computers stabilizing yourself. You take the little
pointed end,
that releases the knot. I mean, you will just hold it on there, and it literally unravels.
Yeah, I like using the quarter size head to kind of find the knots. You kind of go over their back, and a lot of times I'll have them like open up their shoulder blades so you can get underneath there. Those parts need some love sometimes. I like the area in between the heads because there's about 2 square inches. The way that the motion works is on top, it vibrates in the same plane as your skin, but it's 4 square inches. And it's great when you're on Debbie's table because she just lets the weight of the machine do all the work. And you don't have to worry about going over bones or knees and ankles, anything. And the quarter side head on the perimeter is the more pounding. It's still only pounding 1.5 millimeters, but I like the area in between the heads because then you got 2 square inches. Mm-hmm. And I like them on my IT bands, and especially on the insertion points. That's where a lot of fibrous stuff builds up. You can usually exercise away the belly of the muscle, and then those other type of vibrating tools, you can't go near the insertion points. And that's, I think, one of the keys to rapid release. You can get the entire muscle, especially the endpoints, because that's where a lot of the problems occur in the
that makes sense. Actually, I wouldn't. Yeah, thinking about that, I wouldn't want to have one of those more aggressive percussive devices, like on the side of my knee or elbow. Right. It's like, on the muscles, like on your glute or something. I'm like, that'd probably feel good. Just kind of hammer it out because nothing really gets in those really dense muscles. But you get that bony
prominences.
Yeah, that would be kind of gnarly. That's interesting. Okay, so in terms of use, because people listening are going to obviously be like, oh, this sounds great. I want to do that. I noticed that there's a couple things you can do. You can search for practitioners. And I searched in my zip code and Miracle Mile in LA, and there was a bunch of physical therapists and chiropractors and stuff like that around. So that's cool. I might go do that. But how about working on oneself? Because there's a home use one. Like, what's the percentage of people you think that go see a professional to get worked on like Debbie versus just like, hey, I'm going to get one of these and just hammer myself out?
Well, we really don't target the end user. We're only targeting professionals. But every time we sell them to professionals, they have their clients who are asking to buy them. I think Debbie sells a couple a week at least to her clients. And
really?
It's very typical.
And so it seems like kind of self-guided though, since there's not, like you were saying earlier, you don't have to have some specific training, and it's kind of just an intuitive thing. So,
but what's really helpful is if you do see the practitioners at physical therapy, chiropractics, massage that do implement this into their practice, and you experience it with someone that has one, that's really helpful. And that's how my clients end up purchasing them, and they purchase the professional use as well as the in-home version. The difference is that's battery operated and it holds a 30-minute charge. But I'll tell you, my clients, and they come in less frequently. I have no one that needs
that's
this
not a good business model.
But you know what? One person goes out and 4 people come back.
No, I know.
Yeah,
for sure.
it definitely.
For sure. But I get the sense of that it would be a good idea to get, be treated by a practitioner that is familiar with it.
Yeah.
Because I think you hand me one right now, I would probably know what to do on myself a lot better having been treated by you a few times.
Yeah.
Then if I just got one of those in the mail, I was like, where do I put this?
If you get someone that really knows what they're doing, like Debbie or our friend Matt, they can do miracles in minutes with it. And what Matt said, it doesn't really matter what the indication is. As long as you can loosen up those muscles, give more space to the joint, and get your movement back without pain, it's like then your body's on its way to healing itself. And an interesting thing is whenever we do a sales call to a physical therapy office, we always ask them to schedule us when they have their most difficult patient. And you oftentimes see their jaws drop when they see what we can do. And we did a survey of over about 5,000 of our professional customers. And was it 85% of them said they're getting results with rapid release that they weren't able to get without rapid release.
Wow. So people's body being kind of stuck out of ranges of motion that should be normal and accessible.
Recovery plans are what we lack. We lack good nutrition. We have good nutrition. We have organics. We have a lot of things that we do, but we forget about a recovery plan. And the top of the list for a recovery plan, honestly, is what rapid release does to help the body move and help the body assimilate what you're eating and what you're drinking. It's an optimum program. My entire practice has changed. And people with Bodywork don't very easily integrate technology because it's such a sacred thing to use your hands. I don't forsake or forgo using my hands, but I'll tell you, 2/3 of what I do and 1,000% of the results that I see are specifically from rapid release.
If you ever go to yoga after you've had a massage therapy session from Debbie, I feel like Superman in there. I am so flexible.
I bet.
One of the things I like to do is if I'm doing yoga at home and I get into a real tight position, let's just say pigeon or something, and I can just feel that really tightness on my hip, and I'll just put rapid release on my hip while I'm in that position. And that's one of what a lot of physical therapists do. They like to put you in a stretch position because then you get the muscle fibers as long as you can, and then you work on them. And a lot of times they do kind of cross the muscle fibers to really separate those fibers and give you some more space.
That sounds amazing. I'm like, I want to do that right now.
To answer your question though, Luke, 100% of my self-care is using it on myself. You can use the rapid release full body. You can use it over and use your shoulders. Your entire body can be worked on with that yourself.
And the way it's designed, with the long handle, it makes it easy to get to every part of the body.
Right. Yeah. I sense that. I'm excited.
Works.
Yeah, I'm like, I know there's one laying right here. Like I said, I'm not going to blow up the microphone with it, but
you
like,
could
before I drive
do a
back to
visual.
LA, before I drive back to LA, I'm probably going to have to hammer my hip with that thing a little bit. Well, I think you guys, what pretty much wraps up my questions. I appreciate your time, and it's really fun, as I said, just to learn about these new technologies and things like that and share them with people. I get constant feedback from listeners that they go, we like the stuff that you discover. Keep letting us know about it. So it's kind of on my mission to discover cool things and the people behind them. So I appreciate what you've been able to contribute here today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being curious.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I have is I just have this I'm 47, but I have this childlike curiosity. Like I want to know everything about everything.
Well, that's great.
It's just a constant sort of thirst for knowledge. So,
and I think when we did the Bulletproof conference and having it be an international gathering of people, it's been really, really phenomenal to see the effects internationally. I mean, worldwide of what this is doing. And I commend Stan for his not losing enthusiasm as he was going down the road, because we benefit from that.
Thank you, David.
And Luke, I appreciate you spreading the word, because that's one of the biggest problems we have. We kind of have a gag order on what we can say about this. And
well,
we sell probably more of them by word of mouth than we do by any other way. So
that's one of the fun things about being a host of a show is I'm not a part of your company, so I can kind of say what I want. I mean, of course, like I'm aware of certain limitations. Yeah. But I think
I'm in the middle.
My audience already knows, kind of knows the disclaimer, like I'm not claiming this cures any diseases or anything like that. I mean, that everyone that's into kind of the natural health stuff, I think, is aware of the different terminology that you're able to use without making false claims and stuff. But for me, like I'm just someone that's on the sidelines observing all of these different things. And we could be sitting here talking about, a form of meditation that's really effective today, but we happen to be talking about something that you plug in the wall and does cool stuff.
I did want to just mention one other thing is that since you're a musician, you'll really like this. Is the frequency that we're running at is right in the middle of the piano, right in the middle of the guitar.
Oh, no way. Really?
And right in the middle of the male and female voice intersection.
Interesting.
And voice healing's been around for 40,000 years, didgeridoo and all that. But 99.9% of the energy gets reflected off the air skin boundary. And what we're doing is we're putting the compression waves directly into the body. So it's almost 100% efficient in getting those compression waves inside the body.
Whoa, mind blown in the last moment there.
Yeah.
Like, hang on, that opens up a whole other can of worms. Like, wow.
But with that said,
the
intended use of the rapid release is to relax muscles and relieve minor aches and pains.
Right.
That is the intended use.
Yeah. And that's what it does.
And that's what it does.
And the movement is without discomfort, and it just...
Well, I think the underlying thing for me too is just going back, and then we'll wrap it up, but is back what we talked about in the beginning is like assisting the body in doing what it already knows how to do. I mean, when I cut my hand, I don't have to do much except make sure it doesn't get infected, and the body just makes new flesh and it just heals itself because I'm not continually agitating it or preventing the healing from happening, right? Or putting
Get out of the
bacteria and germs in there. I'm like, keep it clean, leave it alone, let air, sun, light, oxygen, all that stuff do its thing. So I think with technologies like this, and there are a number of other things that are also great in this realm, is that we're hopefully speeding up the body's ability to get back to natural movement. I mean, this is not going to replace exercise or yoga or anything like that. But listen, man, if I have a bum hip, which I do, it makes it hard for me to work out. So I'm always looking for something that can, speed up my body's ability to get back into its natural ability and natural range of motion. So then I can not have such a sedentary lifestyle because I'm restricted by that pain. So that's what I'm into, right?
Excellent.
Good times. All right. So where can we find you guys on website, social media, any of that stuff before we check out?
RapidReleaseTech.com.
And social media?
Rapid Release Technology.
Okay, cool. It's funny, since I've never had 3 guests before, this could be a long answer, but I always ask, it's a tradition, that who have been 3 of your teachers that you might recommend that we check out? And that could be in any, area of your life. In other words, I learned so much from each one of my guests. They're teaching me, they're teaching the audience. I want to let the audience know, who's kind of upstream from you that we might go check out.
Living or dead?
Oh, either way. Either way.
Well, number one.
I mean, a lot of people say Jesus or my grandma or, all kinds
I'll
of
say
different things.
Deepak Chopra, Michael Bernard Beckwith, and Eckhart Tolle.
Wow. That was quick. 3 great ones. I'm hoping to get Michael Beckwith on the show one of these days. He's on my hit list. How about you, Debbie?
You know what? I am new to this whole thing as far as training. It's a second career for me. It's been the last 16 years. But, I learn from people that are hurting. And that's what helps me. And so nobody in particular.
That's cool. Yeah. You learn from the people that you're able to help.
They teach me.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. How about you, Stan?
Well, you said it earlier. Jesus, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Nikola Tesla. And
Nice.
I would put Edison in there, Elon Musk in there, to get some contemporary people in there. But Nikola Tesla we have Nikola Tesla posters in the shop, and read books. I've watched documentaries. Very inspirational, very brilliant genius. And, he lived by a code of no limitations. So just because someone says you can't do that or that's not possible is not a deterrent. And I kind of feel the same way.
That's
I like
awesome.
his statement. If you want to know the secrets of the universe, look into the realms of frequency and vibration.
Wow.
Nicholas Tesla.
That's cool. I'm down with that. I just actually saw there's a new Tesla documentary on Netflix.
Yes.
And I put it in my queue the other night. I haven't yet watched it. Maybe that'll be on the list tonight. So those of you listening, you can check out their teachers as well as their website and check out the Tesla doc on Netflix. Let's share about it. Thanks you guys for joining me today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now that I recorded my intro, recorded my promos for today's show, I'm here doing the outro. And it's funny because as I do this, the first thing I have in front of me in my notes is rapidreleasetech.com, audience code Luke100, audience discount amount $100. And I'm thinking, oh, that's cool. I'm really happy that these guys offered that. And then my next thought was, I need to walk the dog. And my very next thought was, shit, my back really hurts from sitting here and recording all day. I need to get out into my living room and plug in that rapid release and work myself over. Now, it's easy to do by yourself, but I really wish there was someone around. So, I'm accepting volunteers. No, just kidding. But it is really great to do on joints. One thing that I really like to use the device for is like computer, hand, wrist, elbow kind of problems, like tennis elbow sort of things, and that kind of pain. I find it to be really effective for that, just when the muscles are tense in the arms and hands and whatnot. And so in addition to my long-standing battle with back pain, which I'm sure I've whined about on the show before, if you've been listening, trust me, I will find a solution. I'm getting closer to the mark, I think. This is definitely helping. But in addition to that, sometimes my arms are just brutalized from weird, ergonomics, working at the computer and stuff like that. So I am quite literally going to go into my living room, get down on that yoga mat and give myself a treatment before I come back and record all my bits for the next show. And speaking of the next show, that's going to be this coming Tuesday with Justin Mayers from Kettle and Fire, a bone broth company. We're going to be talking about ancestral health, paleo, the ketogenic diet, the ins and outs of the bone broth industry, why it's good for you, what to look out for, all that kind of stuff. So Tuesday's a very health-centered, lifestyle-centered show. And after I go work myself over with the rapid release, I'm going to be recording that and getting that one ready for you. So again, go to rapidreleasetech.com, use the code Luke100 and save $100 if you want to check one of these things out for yourself. It was very generous of them to offer that, I felt, so that was cool. However, if you're not someone that likes to buy devices and all of that, then just go find someone in your area that's got one of these things, like someone that is a professional body worker, chiropractor. Most of the people that use these, from my understanding, tend to be chiropractors. Find someone that will work on you, going to get treated, dude. It feels hella good. Let's thank our official sponsors here, though, before I forget them. Of course, Altair Pure. These guys, I love doing these plugs because it's such a personal relationship. I mean, all of the brands that I plug on the show are personal relationships, but I literally spend more time with Altair Pure every day than I do all of the other sponsors. Why? Because we sleep together. Yes, that's true. We have that kind of a relationship. I sleep on Altair Pure organic sheets every damn night. And I've got to say, the longer that I have them, the more comfortable they get. You know what I'm saying? After you wash sheets a few times, and the duvet cover and all that, it gets softer and softer. And not only do I love it, but my little dog that's sitting in front of me, Cookie, who I'm just totally sprung over if you haven't noticed or heard that on the show, she loves the damn bedding too. However, we made an arrangement where she sleeps in her dog bed because I need my sleep, man. I can't be woken up by this rolling around and stuff. So it was a sad day for Cookie, but a happy day for me. Now we've got that sorted out. But no, seriously, Altair Pure. Here's what you're going to do if you want to get GMO-free, legitimately organic, no weird dyes, no bleaches, no funky crap for you to sleep on. If you're going to spend 1/3 of your life in one place, touching one thing, it should be organic, especially breathing that stuff in. That's the thing that's always weirded me out about toxic bedding, is that you're laying there like deep breathing this crap for hopefully 8 hours of your life every night. So go to altairapure.com, and if you enter the code LifeStylist, you'll save an additional 15% off your sheets over there. Altairapure.com, ALTERRAPURE, Altairapure. Really, really great products. Okay, next we've got Longevity Power. My boy Christian Bates, a hardcore committed herbalist. This guy, it lives the tonic herb and medicinal mushroom lifestyle. You can check out their Instagram, Longevity Power, and you can see him. We're birds of a feather. He's a spring water collecting, just completely, well, I guess we don't have that in common. I was going to say he's completely ripped, and I am definitely not. But he is just a beast of a man, very cool guy, and more than anything has a sincere commitment to integrity when it comes to those products. So go to longevitypower.com, and over there you can use the code TheLifestylist to save 5% off. And these are bulk herbs, like really dense, highly potent herbs, so 5% is meaningful when you're buying things in bulk, big jars. So make sure you use the code TheLifestylist over there. And then our homies over at Athletic Greens. Go to athleticgreens.com/Luke. If you use that URL, you will get 20 free travel packs valued at $99 with your first purchase. And Athletic Greens is an awesome, super powerful green powder kind of situation. It's sort of an instant smoothie. And unlike a lot of the green powders, Athletic Greens actually tastes good. It has this sort of vanilla berry flavor. I like to make it just with, what I'll do is I'll blend it up in water and then I'll pour it over ice. That's like my best recipe. However, sometimes I just throw it in green smoothies as an added kind of nutritional boost to get a bunch of micronutrients. It has like a zillion freaking vitamins and minerals, and it's like the world's most powerful, good tasting multivitamin, I guess you could say. That's athleticgreens.com/Luke. On that note, if you want good information every week from your old pal Luke here, go to lukestory.com/newsletter. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, God, I don't need to sign up for another newsletter. He's going to spam the hell out of me. No, I'm not. I'm going to send you every week's podcast with the show notes and stuff. Like I said earlier, if you didn't do that little 15-second fast-forward thing through the intro, you're not doing that, are you? I hope not. But seriously, though, get on my newsletter so I can stay in touch with you. I have a lot of cool stuff going on, and I love to share it with you. But more than anything, if you only want to do one thing, just keep listening to the show, man, because I love delivering these episodes to you. I love sharing the people and discoveries that I make out in the world with you. I'm so blessed to be able to do this for a living, I kind of make a living at it. It's more of a labor of love at this point, but I think if you keep sharing these episodes with your friends and family and keep doing those posts on Instagram, screen grabbing your podcast player and all of that, and helping me to spread the word, maybe someday it will become a real job. But for now, it's a hobby. It's a jobby. That's half hobby, half job. But I love doing it. I would basically do it for free if I could afford to fund the podcast. But you getting on the mailing list is a great way to support and just make sure I can stay in touch with you and get you out at the events and hanging out and being part of the community. All right, so thank you so much, and I will see you. Well, I won't see you, but you will hear me on Tuesday with Justin Mars from Kettle and Fire, and that will be the next information download from Luke Story at the Lifestylist Podcast. This episode of the Lifestylist Podcast was produced by podcastmasters.net.